HBCU Major Division Marching Sports Top 7. We'll get everybody's thoughts on this. Kendrick, you can say your thing. You know, we want you back, so be careful how you treat my mid-major. Just kidding. Just kidding. You say
okay.
Say As we get into it, not much changing this week. We did have quite a few contests, if you would. Nobody dropped out, so we're going to jump right into it at number 7. Benedict Marching Tiger Bands of Distinction. They went up against Allen this week in their classic, and much like how the game went, the band got it done, so they improved to 3-0 in the season, 2-0 in the conference race. They're at number 7, 105 points. Bringing us to number 6, Albany State Golden Rams Marching Show Band have gotten the action late, kind of going on a trend, particularly over the last couple of weeks. They're 3-0. They got it done against Fort Valley State. So not only did they have an upset on the football side, they also got it done in the marching sport during the 0 quarter, halftime, and 5th quarter, getting it done in that classic over there. Bringing us to number 5, Virginia State, the Trojan Explosions. They stay up there, and they got it done against Virginia Union in that matchup. Virginia Union took it to Virginia State on the football gridiron, but in the band and in the stands, not so much. They improved to 4-1 on the season, 3-0 in terms of their conference race. That being said, number 4, Clark Atlanta Mighty Marching Band. Better be glad they got a band in Atlanta over there at Clark Atlanta. Not too much going on the gridiron, a little tough to get going, but the band is bringing some pride. In fact, they're undefeated, 3-0, just 3 matchups. But to their credit, 2-0 in the conference race, they get it done. As Morehouse built out the victory. We know what happened off the field with the head coach, so it looks like the band directors on both sides are safe. We'll leave that talk much longer for later. Langston Marching Pride, they're in the mix, able to stay at number 3, even though they hadn't had a contest for a while. They're 3-0, 2-0. They do have one first place vote, 152 points. They stay at number 3. They're in the mix. Bringing us to number 2. This number 2 had some action going on in terms of what that looks like. As we get into it with Winston-Salem State, Red Sea Sound getting it done as they improve with their big victory over Fayetteville State. That's another one of there where the band got it done as they improved to 5-1, 5-0. There's been a lot of action lately. Particularly sounds like after they came out with that announcement that they were number 2, they just got in their groove. They earned 2 first place votes. So they got one there, 161 points to stay at number 2 as Winston-Salem State Red Sea of Sound continues to get it done. At number 1, see what Kendrick thinks about this. Miles, Purple Marching Machine. They got it done over Tuskegee. So Tuskegee got upset on the field. Got upset on the field, but Miles' band got it done as well. They improved to 5-1, 4-0, 5 first place votes. They lose a vote there, but they stand hot and heavy, 164 points, ranking number 1. With that being said, we're going to let our guest, Kendrick, come in here and go first. What are your thoughts on the mid-major marching sports top 7 poll rankings in week number 10?
I'll just say that, I hate my Marching Crimson Pipers aren't in there, but, it is what it is. I'll tell you this. I'm really glad about – that was a good job. I'm really glad that we're having this and that the bands are getting the highlight in the conference. One of the things that has bothered me that, prior to like the last 2 years, the bands really took a really hit in the SIAC. You saw a really decrease. You saw like those older band directors start to retire. And there was a shuffling of new band directors coming in. And it just seemed like a lot of the band programs had kind of lost their way a little bit. And so to see them like bounce back, to see the Fort Valley starting to pick back up numbers, to see Albany State pick those numbers back up, and then the struggles that Clark Atlanta band had, to see them on the list, I think that's amazing. I thought it was a shame that their band program went down to almost not having a program at one time. This about 4 or 5 years ago, it was like 8. They had like 8 members in the band. So to see them bounce back that way, I think that's truly an amazing testament. And I hope we continue to support our bands in the conference.
Good stuff. Some great insight when you talk about that. Shoot, some major division bands, they seem like they have 8 drum majors. You're talking about 8 bands. I might be off fudging a little bit, but it's something. All right. Charles, what are your thoughts on the marching sport mid-major division in week number 10?
Well, let me ask Kendra this question because I'm curious about this now. Like, when you take a look at this top 7, what is a band that you think is underweight or underrated that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Great question.
I like Central State. I like Central State Band a lot. I've even tweeted out about them. I think Kentucky State this year they've taken a step back, but there's a lot that goes into that. Kentucky State is one of our institutions that we want to pay close attention to because of the struggles they're facing right now, and having a legislature that just it seems dead set on underfunding them and seeing them close their doors. So the fact they even have a band program, I think, is amazing at this point. But I think those two are really two bands that's good. One of the things I want to say, one of the narratives was when it first came out for people who don't really follow SIC football, they just thought Miles was the big bully in the conference. But there are really some quality bands in the conference that they don't back down to Miles just because Miles is the biggest. You talk about Benedict's, So Miles, they're the biggest and they can go up against the SWAC bands as far as size-wise, but there are bands that battle them. Our band went probably like a 7-8 round fifth quarter with them this Saturday. So there's a lot of quality bands there, but just to answer your question, I would say Central State.
Okay.
That's good. Any updates other than that?
Well, yeah, I think you see Winston-Salem State that they've climbed, they've ascended to be one of the top bands in the ESPN ranking. So I was curious to see where you're going to have them here in our rankings, especially when we take a look at the battle. So I was curious about that battle between Miles and Tuskegee last week. So that's great insight, Kevin.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Ryan, what are your thoughts on the top 7?
Well, okay. So what's interesting looking at the number one band, Miles, and again, I'm gonna juxtapose this against another poll, another band ranking poll. Obviously, the ESPN Band of the Year. Seeing Miles number 1 in one poll and number 8 in another, it's like if somebody had all of a sudden put, I'm trying to be nice here, somebody had decided to put Hampton number 1 in the poll here on week number 10. I'm just saying, if somebody did that, that's what it feels like. But I say that because Miles is ranked 8th on the latest ESPN Band of the Year, but they've earned, I guess, their stripes in the band competition. Whatever performance
criterion.
Whatever criteria or performance is getting them rated so high on a week-to-week basis, they need to send that video into the Band of the Year competition so that they can be better judged. Now, Winston-Salem State is number 2 in your rankings or your poll, and number 1 in the other. So that one seems okay. Look, I did not know their name was the Red Sea of Sound. That just sounds that sounds vicious. A Red Sea of Sound. That just sounds like I don't want to be out there on the ocean when that thing is coming around. But anyway, I just that's all I'm picking at. But it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. I think it's great discussion, especially in the band community. So congratulations to Miles and congratulations to Winston-Salem State.
Man, that's a perfect fastball. I want to remind everybody, the ESPN Marching Sports, they have these criterion that they go by, obviously sound, and we go by some of these criterions, marching style, volume, and things of that nature. But the biggest component of our poll ranking is the fact that the band has to be in action. Yeah. It has to make sure that they have a matchup against another band. That's how we match up. So there's some weekends where some bands do not get on the road. They don't go up against another band. And the reason we do that is because over the years, we heard the band talk about how they are a sport. Marching sport is one of the terms you hear thrown around that they talk about. Well, if you're a sport, in my book, there's a winner and a loser. So all this little nice little band competition, that's great. Y'all judge it. Y'all do what y'all want, and keep it moving. I'm not a hater, so whatever. But in terms of this band, you want to be the best band in the land in this poll, you got to get out there and you got to find a way to get into action. You got to support your band. You got to know when to play, when to be quiet, when your quarterback is under center. You got to be engaging your fans. Those are some of the criteria that we look at. And most importantly, you got to participate against another band so I can select a winner and a loser. And those that watch it with me, they do the same. We want to know who came out of the competition with the W. We don't care about you having 5,000, a couple of 10,000 million fans voting for you, saying that you all nice and stuff like that. That's beautiful. You go on them other places and vote your heart out. It ain't gonna work here. It's not gonna work here. Kendrick, they can't get it like that. Brian, not today. In fact, I'll give you an F squared. That's how this professor's gonna judge you, Charles. You know about the F squares that I give over here at Texas Southern University. When the folks don't know what they're doing, they don't turn in no work, playing with, put that F square in your life.